My son didn't lose his leg in a car accident. He gave it to save the life of the girl he loved. But now she's broken up with him, and he can't say why. I'm 51. I live in Buffalo, New York. I've been a mechanic in a repair shop for 28 years. I have a son, Neil, 24. When he was little, I taught him to ride a bike, fish, change a tire. He was strong, fast. He wasn't afraid of heights, the dark, or pain. And then everything changed. A year ago, a car accident. Officially, Neil lost his left leg below the knee. The car collided with a truck. He survived. Amputation, rehabilitation, prosthesis. We all thought, asterisk, he's a hero. He survived. He's fighting. Star. But here's the thing. It wasn't an accident. He didn't lose his leg in an accident. He gave it away. And I'm the only one who knows. It happened at night. Neil was volunteering at a children's hospital, helping with transportation. There was a girl there, Lila, 19. She had a rare form of anemia. She needed an urgent bone marrow transplant, but there were no donors. The doctors said, if we don't find one in 72 hours, she's going to die. And then Neil did something that no one understood. He didn't just become a donor. He didn't just give away his bone marrow. He gave away a part of his body, his leg, not for himself, but for an experimental operation that could save her blood-forming system. It was unofficial, not according to protocol. The doctor who was in charge of the surgery was an old friend of my wife's. She had died of cancer. He knew that Neil was the perfect genetic donor, and he suggested, we can use tissue from your leg to create an artificial microskeleton for her bone marrow. But that means amputation, and you can't explain it to anyone, not even your father, to protect you from the attention, from the pressure, from the misunderstanding. Neil agreed. Why? I asked him when he came to see me after the surgery. Why did you do it? Because I love her, he said, and I couldn't watch her die. But you lost your leg. Yes, he said, but she got a chance, and it was worth it. 2 months later, they broke up, not because of hatred, but because she said, I can't be with you, knowing that you lost your leg because of me. And he didn't tell the truth. He couldn't, because he made a promise to the doctor. No one will know. This is her chance at a normal life, without a burden. I couldn't stand to look at his silence anymore, not because I was angry, but because I understood, if I don't understand what he's going through, I'll lose him forever. He became withdrawn. He didn't scream. He didn't drink. He didn't cry. He just sat. He looked out the window, like someone who has already lost everything. And then I found the diary, not in a drawer, in the old backpack he carried to the hospital, under the lining, a small notebook wrapped in plastic, so it wouldn't get wet. The first entry is from March 12th, the day before the operation. Today is the last time I'm walking. Tomorrow they're going to amputate my leg, not because I'm sick, but because it might survive. The doctor says, this might work, but if not, I just lost my leg in vain. And if it works, she will never know why. And this is the hardest part. The next one is a week after the operation. She survived. The first cells appeared. The doctor said, this is a miracle. But I know, it is not a miracle. This is my leg. And now I can't say, I did it for you. Because she will say, I don't want this price. And she will lose the last thing she had, the belief that her love was worth something. Another month later, she broke up with me. She said, I can't be with you, knowing that you lost your leg in a car accident. This is too much. Asterisk. I didn't fix it. I didn't tell the truth. Because the truth would be even harder. I lost my leg because I couldn't watch you die. And she would say, why didn't you ask me? And I wouldn't be able to answer. Because the answer, because I love you more than myself, would destroy her forever. Last entry, yesterday. I don't regret it. But I'm tired. Tired of being strong. Tired of pretending it was an accident. Tired of seeing her go on living, and not knowing that I'm living a slow death because I can't take back what I gave. And worst of all, I'm afraid that one day she'll find out and say, you should have told me, and I don't know if I should have. I closed the diary. I couldn't breathe, not because I was moved, and because he understood. He is not just suffering. He apologizes for saving her, like someone who considers his victim a mistake. A day later I said, I read your diary. He was not surprised, not angry, just looked at me. Why did you do it? I asked. Not because I don't believe, but because I want to know, is it worth it? She survived, he said. And now she walks, laughs, has a new love, and doesn't carry the burden of my life. And that's enough. And you? I lost my leg, he said. But I didn't lose myself. I simply cannot be what they think. A hero. A victim. Someone who deserves sympathy. I'm just the one who couldn't say no. What if I tell the truth? Don't tell, he said. Not for her. Not for me. Because the truth doesn't save. It destroys. And she's already lost too much. A week later, I called the doctor, the one who did the surgery. He knows what I know, I said. And he's suffering. Not from pain. From not being able to say who he really is. I know, the doctor said. But we can't tell. It would violate the code of ethics. And it could hurt Lily. She's in rehab. She believes that donors saved her. And it gives her hope. The truth could destroy that hope. And Neil, he's a hero, the doctor said. But sometimes the hardest thing is to be the hero that no one sees. I couldn't leave it like that. Not because I was angry, but because I knew that if I didn't find out if she knew, I would never know if Neil had really lost her. I found her. It wasn't hard. She worked in the library, the same one she had gone to as a child. I didn't come as a father. I came as a person seeking the truth. Lilo, I said. I'm Alex, Neil's father. She fell silent. Not scared. Not accusing. Just looked at me. I know why you're here, she said. Do you know? Not everything, she said. But I know it wasn't an accident. Al, because he couldn't explain it, she said. After the surgery, he was different. Not from pain. From guilt. And when I asked, why did you do it? He was silent. And silence is the loudest scream. And what did you think? I thought he was hiding something, she said. Something big. Something related to me. And when he said he lost his leg in an accident, I didn't believe him. Not because I was suspicious, but because I saw his medical records. He wasn't on the accident register. There was no police report. There were no witnesses. Just a hospital note. Emergency amputation. Reason. Experimental procedure. And you didn't say anything? I asked, she said. And he said, I can't tell. It's not my right. And I realized he did something for someone. And that someone was me. And that's why you broke up? Yes, she said. Not because I didn't love, but because I couldn't accept the price. If I found out that he gave his leg for me, I would never be able to live with it. Every time I walked, I would see his prosthesis. Every time I laughed, I would hear, it's because of him. And it would destroy me. I would lose myself. And him, too. But he saved you. Yes, she said. But saving doesn't always mean keeping with you. Sometimes the greatest love is letting go, so that the person who saved you could save themselves. A day later, I returned to Neil. I saw Lila, I said. He didn't answer. He just stared out the window. She knows, I said. Not everything, but she knows you're hiding something. And she didn't break up because she didn't love me, but because she didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want her to feel guilty, he said. But now she feels even more guilty. Yes, I said. But she chose to protect you, even if it meant losing you. A week later, she wrote, I don't want him to think I'm afraid of his sacrifice. I'm afraid he no longer thinks he's worth living, that he's lost himself for me. If he can ever tell the truth, I'll listen, but not as someone who should be grateful. And what about the one who loved him and still loves him? I gave him the letter. He read it. He didn't cry. He just said, I can't tell the truth. Not because I'm afraid, but because I'm afraid she'll say, thank you. And that would destroy everything I've tried to save. I couldn't put it off. Not because I was ready, but because I knew that if I didn't find proof that his sacrifice wasn't in vain, he would never be able to forgive himself for what he had given. I called Dr. Ellis, the doctor who had performed the operation. Not to talk. For the truth. Doctor, I said, I know that Neil gave his leg to save Lila, but he believes that he could have done it in vain, that she would have survived without him. Can you tell me if this operation was the only option? Silence. Yes, he said. It was the only option. How is that? We've been testing this technique for 5 years, he said. Experimental tissue transplantation to create an artificial bone marrow microskeleton. You need a perfect genetic match, perfect bone structure, perfect immune profile. Neil was the only one who was a 98% match. The other donors were 76% at most. That wouldn't be enough. But you could have waited, right? No, he said. She had 72 hours. After that, she would have completely stopped making blood. We wouldn't have found a donor in time. And even if we had, she would have died of rejection without this technology. And you used tissue from his leg? Yes, he said. Not for the transplant itself, but to create a matrix in which we could grow her own cells. This wasn't just a sacrifice. This was the foundation of her new life. Without her, nothing would have happened. Why can't you announce it? Because it violates ethical protocol, he said. We're not allowed to name donors, even if they are heroes, and even if the truth could save him. The next day, I brought Neil a copy of the letter. Not from the doctor, from Ellis himself. A personal letter he wrote after the surgery. Neil, I can't say this publicly, but I will tell you, you're the only reason Lila is alive. Not one of the donors. Not a scientific breakthrough. You. Your leg. Your answer is yes. Your willingness to lose yourself so she can live. I have seen many heroes, but you are the first to save a life without even demanding recognition. If there were more people like you, the world would be a different place. Sincerely, Dr. Mark Ellis. Neil read it 3 times. He didn't cry. He just sat there, like someone who had finally heard something he couldn't believe. Is he serious? He asked. That she would have died without me? Yes, I said. And he can't tell anyone. But he told you. Because you deserve to know, your sacrifice wasn't in vain. She was the only chance. He paused. Then he said, I thought I had saved her, but I also thought I had lost myself. And now I don't know who I am. You were the one who gave more than he could, I said, and asked for nothing in return. And that's the most important thing you can say about a person. A week later, he left the house for the first time. Not for long. Just to the park. Sat on a bench. Watched the kids run. I can't run anymore, he said. But I can watch other people do it. And that's okay. Yes, I said. And that's life too. And at that moment I realized. He hadn't lost himself. He'd just forgotten who he was. And now he was starting to remember. 6 months passed. He didn't change. Not suddenly. Not because of the doctor's words. Not because of my pressure. But because one day he simply said, I want to write to her. Not to call. Not to meet. Just a letter. Not to return. But to close. I didn't read it. Didn't ask. Just took it to the mailbox when he said, done. A month later she came. Not to me. To him. Standing on the porch. In a simple sweater. Without makeup. With a book in her hands. The same one they had read together at the children's hospital. Did you get my letter? She asked. Yes, he said. And thank you for coming. I didn't come to return, she said. I came to say, I know what you did. He paused. Not surprised. Not arguing. I can't change what happened, she said. But I can say, you shouldn't have done that. And thank you. And I won't forget. I didn't want you to feel guilty, he said. But I have a right to feel, she said. Not guilt for losing your leg, but gratitude for not losing me. And if you don't let me feel that, you'll lose me again. Not as a lover, as a person who has a right to their truth. He nodded. Didn't cry. He simply said, I wrote you a letter. Not everything, but the main thing. I wrote, you didn't survive because I lost my leg. You survived because you love to live. And that's the most important thing. Yes, she said. And that's why I came. Not because I want you, but because I want you to know you love to live too. Even when you gave away a part of yourself. And you have a right to it. Your life. Not as a hero. Not as a victim. But as a man who chose love. They didn't hug. They didn't kiss. They just sat on a porch, staring at the sunset, like they used to. A month later, he went back to volunteering. Not to the same hospital. To another one. Helping teenagers with disabilities. He says, it's not about what you lost. It's about what you have. And one night he said, Dad, I don't want people to think anymore that I lost my leg in a car accident. I want them to know I lost it to save someone. But I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about how sometimes the greatest strength is to give what is most precious and not ask for anything in return. And you? I'm starting, he said. Not to run, not to forget, and just to live. And that's enough. And every time I see him laugh, I think, he didn't lose his leg. He gave it away. And now he's finally moving on.